Hi guys, welcome back. This final session after the break for this week's show is question and answers. So I'll pass it over to Andrew. Andrew, do you want to tell us about the question that you've been posed, and what's your answer to that question?
Yeah, so it came from a Twitter user called Clean Mile End Park, and the question was, how can the local council put more pressure on the Metropolitan Police and Tower Hamlets to enforce fixed penalty notices for littering and fly tipping in the borough? And it's have done some freedom of information requests about how little the police do in this area. So that was a question that I received last week.
Cool. So what's your take? I know I've got a take in the sense that for whatever reason, Tower Hamlets seems to be really bad in terms of enforcing things. Like I work at the local magistrate, so people don't, just to let the listeners know, so certain criminal prosecutions can be brought by the council. So fly tipping is actually a criminal offence. So if you get prosecuted, you're taken to the magistrates. Just like if you do any petty crime, any crime, the first point of call is the magistrate. So the local authorities do have the powers. But my experience working at the local magistrates is that all the other local authorities seems to be getting lots of prosecutions on fly tipping and in terms of littering, but those cases are not coming through from Tower Hamlets. Is that your experience, and what's the solution to that, and to the question as well?
So I have a kind of similar kind of answer as well. So it was only in 2020 that the council actually increased the fines for fly tipping from £80 to £400. And I think previous to that, and I don't have any recent stats, is basically we hadn't fined anybody for years. And one of the reasons for that is that £80 wasn't a lot of money, and therefore it was kind of not much, wasn't really worth it to us. And the people who are fly tipping, you know, if they paid £80, it wasn't a huge cost to them either, which is, you know, why the council did agree a year ago to increase the fine to £400. Now, I don't know what's kind of happened since then. And obviously, you know, COVID and all the problems with waste have caused, you know, lots of problems. So, and the other issue is that the police, you know, Tower Hamlets Council actually do pay for police officers. So we do actually employ lots of police officers. Sorry, you might hear in the background some family action. I'm at my sister's house, looking after my niece. But yeah, so we do employ police officers. We actually pay for them. So it would be possible for us to basically ask those police officers to enforce issues like fly tipping. I know the police don't like doing that kind of stuff, and they'll only do it if there's no other way of getting an individual. They might use fly tipping as another way of getting at somebody. But it's a Tower Hamlets Council matter, and we do have enforcement officers, the Theos, and other council officers whose job it is to issue these fines as well.
Yeah, so I guess it's a matter of political will. Then is that what you're saying? That I think we just have to raise it up the political agenda. I personally just can't understand. You know, like it's a no-brainer. It's extra revenue. If you win the prosecution, your costs are covered, and there's a social gain from that action. If people know that someone's been prosecuted, they'll think twice before doing it. So there is a social gain from it. So it's a no-brainer. But again, sometimes common sense isn't that apparent when it comes to politics, especially in Tower Hamlets. So I'm going to just move on to the question that I've had from quite a few residents. Is obviously because of winter, we've had sort of like a brief cold snap, and the obvious plumbing issues have come about. And what residents what happened is, especially if you're living in a block of flats, if your neighbor has a flooding, it actually, for no reason, for no fault of your own, it actually impacts on your property. So the water comes through, it damages all the belongings. I know someone's entire wardrobe got damaged, and then people are under the impression that the landlord building insurance, the social housing landlord or Tower Hamlets Homes insurance would cover it, but then they're shocked to see that it'll only cover the four walls and the ceiling. It won't cover the damage that you need to have content insurance. And a lot of people contact me saying, "Oh, something has to happen," and I have to explain to them, look, your landlord's building insurance just covers four walls and the ceiling. What happens inside the four walls and the ceiling is that's your responsibility as a tenant, so you have to insure it. And there are social landlords that give insurance, so like you can buy into like a collective pool of contents insurance. Have you had similar experience? I know there was something happening in Barking as well that you were talking about, but have you had similar experiences with tenants as well, not realizing that they have to get content insurance? They're not covered by the landlord.
Yeah, so a few years ago, there was a really bad fire in Barking and Dagenham at a place called Samuel Garside House. Fortunately, nobody sort of actually died in that, but there were a lot of properties damaged, and it caused lots of problems. And sort of the council there sort of organised a specific report to go through all of the lessons learnt about the fire. And one of the things that they found, and I'm going to read out from the report what it actually says. One of the problems that they found was meeting unrealistic expectations of residents who had lost contents of their apartments, which was not covered under the building's insurance policy. It quickly became apparent that a number of affected residents had not arranged their own contents insurance, but still expected their losses to be made good by the building insurers or another third party. And basically their recommendations is that, people need to understand is that they need to arrange their own contents insurance, because if there is a flood or a fire and you lose your personal possessions, nobody's going to replace them, and no insurance is going to cover that unless you have your own contents insurance. And as Puru just said, a lot of housing associations do arrange kind of like cheap cover. They sort of do deals with companies that can provide, more affordable cover. But you really need to take out your own contents insurance if you have valuable possessions at home or want to have, financial cover if anything happens to those possessions.
I think there needs to be some. It is a massive kind of. People don't realize what building insurance is and what content insurance is, and I think we need to do more to educate. And I think social housing landlords as well need to educate their tenants as well. They always mention, from my experience, always mention the cheap content insurance once something's happened after the fact. It would have been good if they actually wrote to all their residents saying that you need to have this because X or Y situation doesn't cover it. But I've come across that lots of people don't realize that they have to get it, or these schemes are available, and something needs to happen to actually get to do it. And the other thing is you do benefit from the insurance assessor coming in, and sometimes the insurance company would actually take the perpetrator. So what's happened is a lot of blocks have leaseholders now who become buy-to-let landlords, and they let it out. The insurance company would actually tackle them if they are liable, etc. Be rest assured the insurance company will basically send in the assessors and if necessary sue them. So you do get that kind of benefit from it as well. But guys, get the insurance, please, because I'm sort of like, it is kind of tragic when things are damaged and people have this expectation and then they realize they're not covered, and you don't want to be in that situation, so to speak. So we're near the end of our show, Andrew. What's coming up next week? Is there anything big or interesting that's coming up next week in the council?
So I guess probably the major thing that's coming in a couple of weeks' time is going to be the budget. So I think it's the 3rd of March is the budget meeting at the council. And I know that the trade unions are working on the issue of the library closures and are concerned about that. So I know they're organising for that meeting. So that'll kind of be one issue. COVID, the ongoing challenges with COVID is going to be a kind of another one. And hopefully in a couple of weeks' time, we'll know, when lockdown might lift. But the thing about Tower Hamlets, there's always things going on.
Yeah.
So you also need to tell us what you want us to discuss as well. So
well, let us know if there is a campaign or something exciting coming up. If you are really agitated about something, if, for example, if you are one of the library users, or if you feel passionate about the libraries, come on, let us know. Send us the information. If I know that the council is sort of like reducing services to drug and alcohol treatment in this budget. If you are someone who's reliant on that service and knows people who are relying on the service, contact me and Andrew. People would like to know what are these projects that are going to be wound down or have funding reduced, etc. A lot of people don't realize what kind of work that happens. I work in the courts. I see the drug and alcohol treatment team, the work that they do with people who have been arrested and how they rehabilitate them. But if you feel quite passionate about it, let us know. Or if there is any other services, or if there is any services that the council is increasing funding to, come down, let us know why that is a good idea, etc. But contact us. I think the budget is going to be the issue, the run up to the budget. I could see things rumbling on, and afterwards as well. But we're near the end of our show. But thank you again for joining us, and get in touch. And with regards to noxious gas, Andrew has written an article on Tower Hamlets News, and we'll go on there, have a look at that, get involved in the consultation. The deadline's Monday, and we look forward to coming back next week on Friday and having another show and putting forward the ideas that you want. But thanks again, Andrew. Any final words?
No, just complete the consultation before Monday 5 p.m.
Yeah, cool. All right then. But thanks again for watching the show, guys, and see you next week. See ya. Bye.